Hello, everyone. My name is Blake Hines. I'm an account manager with Amberleaf Partners. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time today to join the webinar. We are titling PopFlow Killed the CTI Star. The agenda for today is a pretty tight timeline. We've got a 30-minute webinar here. I'm going to quickly go through what we do at Amberleaf in relation to Oracle Service Cloud, pass it over to Mike Garner for an overview of open methods, and then get into a PopFlow demo, and then finally wrap up. We do have a tight timeline, so we do want to take your questions, and you could ask your questions, and we will follow up with those personally after the webinar. So for Amberleaf, what we do is we are a consulting firm. We do strategy and technology consulting based out of Chicago, specifically doing Oracle and cloud implementation since 2006, specializing primarily in the Oracle Service Cloud product, and we've done over 600 of these globally and across industries. We've been recognized within Oracle as Partner of the Year and within the industry as one of the top Oracle solution partners. Based on our experience of implementing the product over several years, we have evaluated how we can bring additional efficiencies to our customers around AHT, personalized service, and we recognized open methods a few years ago and formally started a partnership last year. So in saying that, I want to pass this over to Mike Garner of Open Methods to give an introduction there.
Great, thanks Blake, and thank you to our partners at Amberleaf for co-hosting our webinar today. Great partners, and along with the whole universe, if you will, of Oracle Service Cloud team members and our joint clients, we've learned a lot about really what are the needs out there in terms of delivering a never repeat, never start over experience for the customer across some of the biggest and best brands out there, and especially when that customer has to go across channels where they start on the web, they start in a chat session, or they might end up on a phone call. But how do you take data? How do you take what you know about who that customer is, what they're trying to achieve, and any progress they've already made in those self-service channels? And today you're going to see some really cool stuff where we take it from the voice channel and the IVR specifically, but it could come from anywhere. And how do you take what you should already know about that customer and their situation and have that accelerate and speed up and make easier that path to the right answer, the path to the best answer, the path to the best product to recommend? And so this is Mike Garner, Chief Customer Officer at Open Methods. I am a recovering operations guy, ran consumer sales and service operations for Verizon, and ran a company called AFNI. So collectively about 7,000 agents that I have to apologize to every time I see them, because I think I got smarter about the business after my ops career, and about 24 centers in my background. And so this is the kind of thing, what we're going to show you now with PopFlow, what Jarek is going to walk you through, is the kind of tool and product that every one of us as operations people really just, this is what we're looking for in terms of how do I drive a better, faster, easier experience? How do I personalize service at scale, and how do I do it in a productized way instead of some series of expensive one-off sort of CTI integrations? So if you think about anybody who's involved, okay, with computer telephony integration, CTI, this is what that looks like. It's a mess. It takes 6 to 10 weeks. There's typically more than 10 people involved. And you start with what the business and the people in the contact center say, you know, wouldn't it be great if we could do this, show this, automatically bring up the answer for that question if we know it coming from the IVR, for instance. But then you have to get CTI developers involved. You have to get the telephony people involved. You have to get test scripts written. You have to actually get phone numbers released. And then you basically spend weeks making sure that there's a one-off connection between that particular ACD or switch and, in this case, Oracle Service Cloud. And then you test it. And more times than not, it actually doesn't come out the exact way that you had it in your mind. And so it's a very lengthy, tough process. And this is why people stopped investing on the front end of the phone call because it was just too hard to utilize whatever they gathered on that front end in the IVR or the automatic speech recognition engine and pass that forward so that it would actually truly speed up the average handle time and the service experience when it got to an agent-assisted interaction. So this is the way it is time and time again. And these things take between $15,000 and $50,000 to build, even when you get it right. And then when you switch your telecom provider, your ACD provider, or versions change, they often break and they're not portable. So this is a revolutionary approach to how you take, all right, what you know about the customer and how quickly you can create new service experiences for them. And so what we've done is we've taken CTI and we put it in the hands of the Oracle Service Cloud Administrator. For the first time ever, the person who is at the desktop who knows what they want to see happen with that data can literally build, test, and deploy new service flow accelerators in minutes without risk to the telecom side or the CRM side. So Jarek's going to show you, using the designer, 5 different really powerful use cases about how we make that happen. He built these. These are live, working inside of Oracle Service Cloud, and he built them all in the last 3 days. And he's going to give you 5 really, really powerful examples. So with that, I turn it over to Jarek.
Hello, everybody. This is Jarek Davis with Open Methods, and I get the fun part of actually walking you through some of the cool things we've been doing with PopFlow. We're going to go over about 5 scenarios and just really let you see what's possible out there. PopFlow is a tool that we've offered up, and it's an add-in to Service Cloud, and it lets you build context-aware, intelligent screen pops. And it lets you build them rapidly, deploy them rapidly, and really start to be able to use the value that we get out of it. We're going to show you a few of those use cases today that we've seen customers implement and partners implement that we think are really kind of cool, and they've really helped their customer base. I'm going to be talking about 3 big concepts today that'll go through all of these workflows. Context, which is the identity of the customer and their intent, any of the information that we've gleaned up until we're actually getting the interaction to the agent. We want to make sure that all of that information gets to the agent and we use it to present them the right workspace, the right information at the right time. Besides context, we have resources. These are Oracle Service Cloud itself and all of the tools that it has inside of it. How do we drive that context and use the resources? And that gets us to the third, which is action. How do we drive to the right result? To get the agent exactly what they need to service the customer. Excuse me. So again, we're going to walk through 5 scenarios, and hopefully at the end of the session, you guys will have some new ideas about what could be done with PopFlow. I know some of you have seen it, some of you haven't yet. The first thing I want to do is walk you through a basic Annie screen pop, just to kind of get you comfortable with the tools canvas and some of the activities that we'll be using to drive the interesting stuff later. This is PopFlow Studio that I'm showing right now. It's an add-in to Service Cloud, like I said. These are all of the workspaces that I have built in this instance. And the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to go ahead and open up this webinar Annie workspace. Now this workspace what it does is it does a caller ID screen pop, which is a fairly simple one for PopFlow to do, but if you look at how these are coded, you have to go back and code. These can be really complex, takes a week or 2 to build. In PopFlow, this takes about 5 minutes to put together. The first thing we're going to do is, if we get a new call coming in and we get Annie, we're going to say, hey, Service Cloud, take a look in the contact table, and it could be any table here. We can do any of these tables and look through them, but in this case, we're going to say, look in the contact table and see if any of those contacts have a phone number that matches what we're getting in as caller ID from the switch. And one of 3 things is going to happen. We're either going to get a single match, where one person in the Service Cloud database had that phone number. We'll get no match, where we didn't recognize the number at all. Or we may get multiple matches. Say the customer is calling in from a business and there's several people at that business that match that are in your Service Cloud. So if we get a single match, we're telling Service Cloud, go off and create an incident and go ahead and associate that contact with the incident so the agent doesn't have to do it. So instead of just popping up a blank incident, now we've added some context already. We saved a little bit of time for the agent. If we get no match, we don't see anything come back, then in that case, we want to create a new contact and go ahead and, again, put what we know about the customer into that new contact and let the agent go to town. So the next thing I'm going to show we'll use throughout this whole webinar, and that is instead of me now saying, hey, telecom, can I get a test number so I can test my new screen pop, or set up a new IVR branch, or any of those things. One of the great things about PopFlow is we have a test harness built into the studio. And what that lets us do is we're going to use Studio to pass data to the PopFlow runtime as if it was coming from the IVR. So the PopFlow runtime doesn't see the difference, so it's an actual true test of what's going to happen. We go up here in the top left, there's an execute button. What I've done is I filled in the ANI. So that's the only information we know about this test. We're going to go ahead and just push that in and say, hey, PopFlow runtime, what's going to happen if I put that phone number in? If I do, first thing we do, we ask Service Cloud, do you have a record? It matched one person, Emma Jones, who had that phone number in our office phone field by chance. And so we went ahead and popped up the instant workspace and we associated that contact. So that's the, just a really small example of the kind of context passing and decision making we can do with data that comes in real time. I mean, that gets our agent identity by using the contact table. We get a contextual pop. What if we have a lot more data to work with? So the next thing we're going to talk about is kind of a segmentation workflow. I've got one built here. Many companies are pulling in data about what the customer is looking to do. They, press sales for this, press sales, or press 1 for sales, press 2 for orders, and that's context. We want to make sure that we use all of the context that we've collected up front to really drive our right interaction. So this interaction, we'll just kind of scroll through here, and I'll describe what's going on. The first thing it says, check to see if this is a voice call, because it could be a chat or an email, and maybe we get different data from the customer portal on those. But in this case, we're going to look for the voice channel, and we're going to check some of the information that came from the IVR. The IVR gave us a couple of things. It gave us a key value pair of segments, and it also gave us a key value pair of OM call type. We're going to use both of those context data along with the phone number to drive this workflow. The first thing we do is we say, I've just split it into two here. If they're a diamond customer, we want to come down this workflow. If they're a standard customer, we want to come down this. And you'll notice these are very similar to the ANI screen pop we did earlier. We do a little bit more in it. In this case, we'll look at the single match. So the single match, we go ahead and associate the contact. We set the call type, which is order or service, into a custom field that we have on one of the tabs in the details of the incident. And then we fire a named event. And for those of you who are familiar with workflows and workspaces, the named events are really powerful tools for kind of guiding the interaction as it goes along. And what we're doing is we're fueling those named events with all this context that we have, right? So we've made a bunch of decisions already. Then we fire the appropriate named event that we want to hit on that workspace as soon as it pops up. Again, we did the same thing for standard. We did a little bit different things. We filled out some fields differently. But we're going to go ahead and test. Let's see what comes through if we run this interaction. So again, we'll go up to execute. In this case, I've added some data. I've added OM call type equals service, segment equals diamond. Those are the things that we were using. So if I hit OK there, now we get a new incident, and we've actually got some more context. If you look over on the right-hand side, we've seen that it's a service call, and it's a VIP customer. And we did that graphically instead of like just filling in a field. The agent has to look at the field. We've done that graphically, actually on the workspace. And this is a very simple example of workspace manipulation, but this could be many, many different things. You can hide and show objects. You can fill in fields. You can do lots of different things off that named event to really customize the experience, right? So that's what it looks like with a service customer coming through as VIP. And just to show what would happen if it wasn't, we'll execute now. We'll change the segment. We're going to say standard. So now this time the IVR has come through and it's a standard call. We'll hit OK. Again, it passes into the PopFlow runtime. And in this case, we see we've switched to a standard customer. So now the agent's able to have the information he needs to answer the phone correctly. And while we did VIP and standard here, this could be any number of different things. It could be branding. It could be different types of phone calls, all of those things. So really, really cool stuff that you can deploy and really get your agents all the information they can possibly get right when they pick up the phone, so they really understand what's going on. So now that we've designed a screen pop and we like it and it's doing the segmentation we like, we've created this kind of in a vacuum. We want to push it out to the agents and see what they do, right? So we push it out to the agents, the whole call center, and then maybe we wait a couple days and we see what people think. But, you know, is this really the best screen pop that we can show? So you go out just in the first day, in the first hours, and you see how people are doing it, and immediately you start getting feedback. And some of them are like, I'd like to see this, I'd like to see this. One agent says, you know, with a diamond customer, it's really effective if I can see the 360 view right up front. The first thing I'm going to click on, see if they've got open instance, because these types of customers interact with us differently than our standard customers. So what we've done is we're going to actually take this workspace, copy it, change just the named event that fires, and using Service Cloud profiles, you can segment off a group of agents to test not only the screen pop that you have out there that the agents are using today, but you can deploy several screen pops and really get a feel for what the agents are more comfortable with, or which drives their best interaction. So in order to do that, it's fairly simple. You go up here to the PopFlow Studio, and I've just gone to webinar segmentation. I went ahead and exported it, re-imported it, which effectively makes a copy. I've got webinar segmentation 2 here. I open up that. The only thing I've done is I've switched the named event to 360. Now, I'll show you. This is my workspace incident. You'll see I've got service and orders and VIP and standard, and we hide and show those things based on rules. I have several rules here configured. All of these rules are really using data that comes in from PopFlow to change how the workspace looks. Highly customizable, lots you can do. So going back to webinar segmentation 2, for the agent who said, hey, I'd like that 360-degree view, let's go ahead and check it out, see what it looks like. So again, this is the same data that we passed into the Lax workspace, but since the named event is different, we get, again, the graphical representation on the side of what's going on, but we focus that tab. And this is really very cool stuff, because say we're doing it on a brand, and you have a special third-party backend system that you keep in one tab for this kind of call flow, or another for this kind of call flow. You can hide those tabs, show them all based on what you know about the caller, and what we know about the interaction. So contextual response, using all of the resources that we have here. So the next thing that I want to show you guys is it takes advantage of more of the resources, right? So we've got context, but Service Cloud is rich with lots of things that we can do. What I'm going to show you, we call Pop to Answer and Pop to Offer. We've seen it used a couple times. Here we're going to use identity intent with the knowledge base and the promotions resources, Service Cloud, really driving for speed to resolution and speed to offer. You know, what's the best answer for this problem, or what's the next product that's good for this customer? So I've got a workspace built out here, and webinar Pop to Answer and Offer. And we'll focus in on this section over here, but basically we look up the contact, just like we did before. And in this case, we're segmenting on order or service, right? Whether this is a sales call or a service. You'll see right off we create an entity. We create an incident, associate the contact. We set the call type so we know, so the workspace can respond to it, whether it's an order or a service call. We fill in the subject. We started off with quote, and we're also capturing category and product ID. And these are things that we've captured in the IVR. So now we know not only that the customer is interested in ordering or they're interested in getting technical support, but what products maybe they're calling about. And then you'll see at the bottom here, we do 2 different named events for these 2 call flows. In the first case, which is an order, we call the proposal named event. And in the service, we do the best answer. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these to drive both the quote advisor and the best answer dialogues within Service Cloud. So let's test it out. Again, we're going to execute. We've added more data because we've got more data from the IVR. This time we've got product and category along with, kind of our identity and intent information. And we'll go ahead and hit OK. So this comes through. And what we're doing now, if you notice on the left side, we've got category and product filled out. And we've said, hey, since we've got that promotions named event firing, maybe there's a new promotion out and you really want agents to see that up front, right? Because they need to know for the start of the call that there's an offer and they need to craft their conversation. They can either immediately offer or just know that there's one there. They can always go back and click a button. But this really drives that so that they always see it up front. Again, we've got all of the other information that we need, but we want to get that offer advisor up right away. Going back to the same call flow, if we're on the service side, we'll do another execute, but in this case, we're going to change the drivers. So this is service and service. We're going to hit OK. And in that case, again, same thing. We've filled in a subject line. We've filled out the products and categories. We've got service on the right. We've driven the incident best answers. I apologize. There's actually not an answer for this product in here right now, but these would show the 5 best answers. And the agent can go ahead and select one of those and get started on it. Very cool things. Again, not just limited to these little things. Any of these Service Cloud things that you can do based on the context. We want to take all of that context, use our resources the best we can, and then do an action. Get something out onto the screen. So that's a lot of how do we customize workspaces, how do we change the presentation for the agent, how do we get them prepared. But what if the data isn't in service? We need to make some decisions on, maybe it's from the billing system. Or maybe you don't want to, you've got a master contact record in your company, and so you want to always keep your contacts in one place and your incidents and knowledge base over in Service Cloud. Instead of, well, so the fifth scenario that I'm going to cover off, we see a lot of our customers that are either just getting started with Service Cloud or they're looking to bring new data from Service Cloud, so like a billing system or a third-party system. So instead of doing a massive dump of all that legacy data into Service Cloud, with all the data integrity problems that brings, or perhaps they just want to start using this data they have, sitting in another system to inform incidents, or maybe to drive decisions on what workspaces are displayed. We've got an activity we call the HTTP integration activity that can be used to interact with web services within your organization to go grab data, to push data to other systems, and to really, again, speed up the process, give the customers what they need at the right time, don't make them repeat themselves, and provide the best, the best experience they possibly can. So this is an example of the web service call. I've got it, we've drilled down into it. Service Cloud lets you kind of drill down into the interactions as they go. I really want to focus on this HTTP request. So in this case, we're going to use a publicly available web service provided for testing that lets you pull up customer information by accounting. In a typical call center, you would use something that came through the IVR, maybe an account number that came through, or maybe the phone number, whatever it is you want to use to key off that external resource. So we format the get URL. This can also be posted if you're pushing data. You can provide content in. But in this case, we're going to grab some data. We give you the ability to edit the headers and deal with security considerations. So we're pretty flexible on the different types of interactions or systems you can work with. And then we're going to assign everything that comes back into this HTTP request. And that's going to be, in this case, we're getting back a JSON data structure that has all of the information about that customer. And it could be multiple customers that come back. So the first thing I'm going to do is I usually do this log return data, which lets me see the entire object that comes back. And PopFlow also, for those of you who are wondering, provides great verbose logs So you can always see what you're you can log data to see what's going on in your call flows as you work with them. But the first thing we're going to do with that data that we got back is we're going to fill out some variables. We're going to select the data that we got back, the information we want out of the data that we got back. So you see here I'm setting some email. I'm saying the first email return, the second email return, assign these variables, address, city, state, just kind of typical for what you get back from these kind of systems. And then we're going to, in this case, we're just going to create a contact. We're going to go ahead and push all of that data that we see into the contact workspace. So we do first name, last name, email address, and their address information. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and execute. We'll go ahead and test it out. So we'll do an execute, and I'm not going to provide any data because in this case, we're wanting to go down the no match branch because we don't know something about this customer. We want to go get it from a third-party system. So I'm just going to hit OK. This brings up a new contact record, and you see we've gone through, we've received back a JSON object, we've parsed out the first name, the last name, the email address, the address, and we didn't have to worry about, the agent copying, pasting, doing the alt tab thing. We didn't have to worry about, how do you spell Suffolk Lane? Addresses are spelled different in different cities. We get a real big data integrity bump from doing something like this, and we also make it easier on the agent. They didn't have to go copy and paste each of those fields back. So really driving efficiencies, saving time, not making people repeat themselves, all the things you can do. I created a contact in this example. You could also do things like reach out and grab some data about the customer. Maybe that's where you go decide whether this is a VIP customer or not. You get that data up front, and then you drive your workspace selection off of these third-party systems. Another thing we see is people using this to tag incidents. So they want to go out to a third-party system and get account number from the billing system so they can put it into the workspace, into the incident. So when they do analytics and do reporting later, they get all that tied-in information, and they can do larger business intelligence type things. So again, very powerful tool on the HTTP integration. We're really excited about it, and hopefully going to make everybody's lives a little bit easier out there. So that's kind of my spiel. I hope everybody learned something good from this. And if you guys have any questions, don't forget to put them into the webinar, and we'll get back to you on all of those things. Hope this was really effective for everybody. And I'm going to turn it back over to Blake for the wrap-up.
Thank you. Great stuff. It's a really interesting feature for organizations that are looking into the product and for their sales and service contact center, but also for organizations that already have Oracle Service Cloud and do not have this level of automation. So to wrap up, we are almost at the half hour. Contact information, so emails for us are there today if you want to reach out to us to follow up. Questions, sticking to the original plan, we will look at each question individually that came in today and respond back. And then finally, and maybe Chris, you could speak to this, there will be a recording of the webinar today that you will be able to access.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Blake. We will be sending out, as soon as this is done and it gets all prettied up and all that, we will send a link out to everybody that will go to our YouTube page. And also we will have something up in the near future that I have a place at the Open Methods website where you can go and download this if you need it. But yeah, we will get that out hopefully by end of day today, if not first thing in the morning, a link to the actual YouTube video of this webinar.
Okay, great. I just finally just want to thank everyone for their participation today and once again taking time out of their busy day. Everyone have a great day.